Hello, 7 receiving students and teachers.
Hello, Mr.
Thank you. You may be seated. What did we look at in our previous lesson?
What do roots do?
What do roots do? What do roots do? What do roots really do? What did you really look at? Thank you very much, Isaac. That was what you looked at in your last lesson. What do roots do? Now, what is one of the things that the root does? One of the things that the root does. What does it do? Joshua.
Suck water.
The roots suck water to the plant. Good. In your the last lesson, you also conducted an experiment, and you had to leave the results for about 2 to 3 hours. On the board, on the screen here, you can see the results that occurred after 2 to 3 hours from one of the groups. Okay, so you can see the experiment and the control. That is the result that occurred after 2 to 3 hours. In fact, it was almost 3 hours later. Then the result is as it is on the board there. When you can see in the control side, there is a liquid in the potato, the cut potato there. Okay, so there was, no liquid in the cut potato after 2 to 3 hours, as observed by this group. That was in the control. In the experiment, there was the sugar has melted, forming liquid. So the sugar had already melted, forming the liquid. Now, what does that result show? What do you think that result show? Receiving students, you can also let your teachers know what do you think that result show. What does the result show? Clement.
The results showed that the sugar was melted into water.
Right, Clement says that the results show that sugar melted into water. Thank you very much. Okay, so he used sugar there. Right, with that we can say that the presence of strong sugar solutions within the plant roots enable them to absorb water. So the strong presence of the sugar solutions. Remember, during photosynthesis, the plants make their food, and one of the product is sugar. The strong presence of it makes them able to absorb water. If you can look very carefully at the experiment here, you can see that the cut potato here, there's the control part of the experiment has no water in it. And here the sugar has helped to melt the water. But if you look closer inside, you will see that the water levels of this is quite different from there. There's more being absorbed here than on the other side. So that shows that the presence of strong sugar solutions within the plant roots enable them to absorb the water or take in water. Okay, that was what we looked at in our previous lesson. So in teachers, we still have the same strand, the substrand, and the learning outcomes. Unit 2, we're still on Unit 2, which is Structure of Living Things. Our topic today is on deeper roots or taproots in bracket. The materials needed for this lesson, we will be looking at live plants or uprooted plants, some scrap papers, newspapers, charts or A4 papers, stick tape, glue, beaker or other similar glass container, water, crystal of potassium permanganate, hair dye or powdered tan. We do not have potassium permanganate, so what the model class will be using is this here, Kulsi. They will be using this to substitute potassium permanganate. Okay, so this will be used to substitute potassium permanganate. Okay, we'll get straight into our activity 1. Activity 1, I would like you to, in your groups, observe the structure of the roots of the plants that you have brought. The plants that you have brought in your groups there, you look at the roots. Forget the stem, forget the leaves, look only at those plants, their roots. Receiving students, you do the same. If you have brought in plants, you look at the roots of the plant that you have brought. And then you try to classify them. Meaning that you group them according to how you want to group them. I will give you 1 minute. Okay, by now you should have looked at the different structure of the roots. Now I would like you to state down why did you classify them in that manner? Why did you classify them in that manner? Right, receiving students and teachers and class, let us hear what Win has to say. Why did his group classify these roots accordingly or in that manner?
This is a plant and it doesn't have many roots. And this plant has many roots, as you can see it.
Very good. They classified roots into the roots that basically they classified was plants having not many roots and the plants having many roots. Thank you very much, Win. Receiving students, I hope you also had a similar type of classification to the model class. Now, in today's lesson, we will be looking at parts of the taproot. There are many hairs of the root, whilst others will have a big root. But today we will look at taproot. Now, on the screen I have an example of a taproot. The taproot has the main important root there. It has the main important root. That's this one here. And then it also have smaller, less important roots, which are like those other small ones there. So a taproot digs deeper into the soil. It has one main root. Now I would like you to think of the tap at the schools. Receiving students, if you have taps in your schools, you imagine the tap. One tap, the water comes and goes through that tap, and then it comes up. But if you have lots of outlets of the taps, you will find that the water comes from one pipe, and then it spreads out to the other. Same to the taproot. The taproot has one main root. It has one main important root, and then it has smaller, less important roots. Right, you all understand? Good. That is part of the taproot there. They have one main root followed by smaller roots. Another example, say if you are to take a walk from your house to the market or from the school to the market. If the market is near your school, you have one way of getting there, one main way of getting there. But as you go along, there are other smaller shortcuts. But there is an important road that can lead you to the market. The taproot system is quite similarly the same. You have one main road there and then a little shortcuts to get to wherever you want to get to. Right, on number 3 of your activity, I would like you to sketch the root that you can see there, the taproot, you sketch and label the plant there. Only the root system. Do not draw the whole plant down. You draw it from the stem, starting from the stem and down to the root, and label it a taproot system. I will give you 2 minutes. I will give you 3 minutes rather. Receiving students, you can do that for 3 minutes and your time starts now. All right, by now you should have sketched down your root, especially the tap root. Now your sketch should include one main root and followed by other smaller roots. Receiving students and class, hopefully you sketch down something like what Florence sketched down here. Something like this, where you have one main root followed by other smaller roots on the sides there. So this is what Florence has done. She has sketched this example here. So that is the main root coming down, and you have other smaller ones on the sides. She has sketched this root here. This is the root that Florence has sketched. Now that is an example of a taproot. I hope you sketch down a similar type of diagram into your books. All those taproots there have their function. They have their function. Now, taproots have about three main functions, and one is to anchor the plant in the soil. You can see there an example up here on the screen. You can see that that plant is somehow erosion of the soil has taken place and the roots are left bare. If the root was not anchoring the plant to the soil, then this plant will fall off. So that is number one function of the root or a tap root, is to anchor a plant in the soil. Number two function is it absorbs water and mineral particles. And that relates to the experiment that you did in your previous lesson. It was absorbing water and mineral particles. And number three, it conducts water up the plant and the sugars down. So for example, if we take a look at this diagram here, what does it conduct? Up. Water. Okay, so this plant here conducts the water up. It takes it in from the roots, and then the water makes its way up to the top of the leaf. It also conducts the sugar downwards. So this one is showing sugar. It conducts it downwards. After a process of photosynthesis, this sugar is conducted down towards the end of the plant. That's number three. Now the taproot system or the taproot also belong to a group of plants, a group of flowering plants called the dicotyledons. Everyone say dicotyledons. Dicotyledons is spelled D-I-C-O-T-Y-L-E-D-O-N-S. The taproot belongs to a group of dicotyledons. Dicotyledons. Everyone say dicotyledons. We can say dicotyledons, or for short, if it's too long for you, you can say dicots. Dicots for short. Now, what are dicotyledons? Dicotyledons are plants with broad leaves and with network of veins. They are plants with broad leaf, wide leaf, and a network of veins. You can see the network of veins there, in between those stripes there of the root, or in between the bigger vein network of the roots. You can see in between there, there's network of veins. So plants with those type of leaves, broad leaf, are dicotyledons. Plants with parts of the flower, usually in groups of 4 or 5, are also called dicotyledons. So these are the things that you want to find out if the plant is dicotyledon. On the screen here we have a picture of a frangipani flower. And you can see it has about 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 petals. Okay, so it has parts of the flower or petal, usually in groups of 4 or 5. Then you will know that they are dicotyledons. Now, a dicotyledon plant has 2 cotyledons or seed leaves. When it appears, then there are 2 seed leaves of the very young plant. You will know that it is a dicotyledon. For example, this one here, what do you think this is an example of? Clement. Receiving students, what do you think this is an example of? You can tell your teacher. Right, let us hear from Clement. What does he think this plant is?
Watermelon.
Clement thinks it's watermelon. Most likely it's, yes, probably it's watermelon. Watermelon seed, or maybe a bean seed. Okay, good, a bean seed. Now, they have 2 cotyledons. Cotyledon meaning seed leaf. When the plant comes out of the ground, and when you look at the first shoots, if you see that it has 2 seed leaves, then it is a dicotyledon. Okay. Now, the next thing of the taproot system, dicotyledon plants, is that it has taproot system. That's the one that we are looking at in today's lesson. A dicotyledon plant or dicot plant has a taproot system. Now, there are examples of plants with taproots. Examples of plants with taproots include hibiscus, mango, frangipani, bean, rain tree, cherry, or bougainvillea. These are all examples of taproot, or examples of plants which are called dicotyledons. Now, your second activity, in your groups you have beakers there. I would like you to fill up those beakers halfway with water. Fill those beakers halfway with water. After you fill the glass halfway with water, probably around 60 milliliters, then you take a piece of tang. We do not have potassium permanganate, so we are going to be using tang. You get that, and then you put it into the water. Get a pinch of it. Take a pinch of it with your fingers and place it into the beaker of water. And observe very carefully what is happening. Right, you observe what is happening at the beaker or in the beaker of water. Right, after you observe that, you will see what is taking place is called diffusion. You are going to write down what you think diffusion is in your own words, in the space in your books. Right, this is what diffusion means. Diffusion is a process in which particles move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Diffusion is a process in which particles move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Like, for example, what is happening on the screen there. Okay, your summary notes, there are two of them. First one, in dicots, the primary root or taproot develops as the main root. And the second one, all other secondary roots branch from the taproot and are smaller and less important. Taproots is our key phrase for today. Now, next lesson, we will look at shallower roots or fibrous roots. The materials for the next lesson, you will still need to bring plants uprooted. If you are keeping those ones, the ones that you brought today, keep them in a safe place until we use that tomorrow. Charts, scrap papers, and markers. With that, thank you 7Es, receiving students, and have a nice day.